There we go.
Do we need to, in light of that, do we need to recap anything that we already did, like the approving of the minutes or anything like that?
Yeah, you're right. We should. All right. So in my error of not starting the recording, we called the meeting to order at 9:02. There were no additions or deletions to the agenda. There was no public to make any comments. Kate moved to approve the minutes of November 13th, 2020. I seconded the motion, and it was unanimously approved. There were no correspondence, and we started with policy C1, which we are reviewing with Tammy right now. It's one of those mornings.
It's such a strange year. Like it's just such a crazy year.
Yeah.
It's hard to be in a routine for anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this looks pretty straightforward. I think you're good to go.
Okay.
I mean, one thing that we do, like anytime anyone looks at a student record, we have like a login sheet that they sign off on just to acknowledge that somebody viewed the record. I don't see anything about that in here, but I don't know that it necessarily needs to be added.
I would think that that works well as a procedure versus a policy.
Exactly. Yeah.
As Rich is always saying, we don't want to put too many details in these policies because it can tie your hands.
Right.
So I think that that's fine as a procedure.
Perfect.
So Kate, we're in agreement. We'll recommend it be marked as reviewed on whatever date we bring it up. I don't know if we're going to bring it up this coming Monday or in January.
Are we the 21st, right? Because we're not doing a 14th meeting, we're doing a 21st, December 21st.
Are we?
Are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a December 21st meeting.
Because we just met.
We met on the 7th, and then which was the first Monday, and then the third Monday is the 21st. This month.
So okay. Yes. Kate, thank you for being my calendar this week.
This is where my 3-screen setup is handy because I can double check all the little nuances.
I'm waiting for the lights in my office to get installed so that I can set up a desk and finally unpack my computer that I haven't had for 5 years.
Ooh, that was fun.
Yeah, then I'll have a couple screens finally. Okay, so I'm assuming it will be on the 21st. So we'll recommend that with that one change, we just mark it as reviewed. C2 is student alcohol and drugs. Two things of note. One, we do need to add the word unified again into the district name. And Kate, what I neglected to point out when we talked before is on the second page in the middle, there's a blank for an agency name. I don't know whether that's something that should be filled in or if that's something that needs to be left open because it could change.
I would assume open so it could change. Tammy, what do you like? Do you know? Have you
Yeah,
had
I
experience?
agree.
Okay. So then we'll leave that the way it is. And then the last thing is the cross references appear to be to reference incorrect or non-existing policies. So I'm getting clarification from the VSBA. I believe that F1 should be C20, F3 should be C21, and F5 doesn't appear to reference any existing policy. So with your guys' approval, if we decide to mark this as reviewed, it will just be with the addition of those updates, which are just updates, not change of any content.
That sounds reasonable. Does that policy still make sense, Tammy? Is there anything that you see that you're
Yeah.
missing? Or, okay.
I think it's good.
Excellent.
I was
So-
just trying to see the references though that you were talking about, Mark.
At the very bottom,
In the footnotes?
the third
Okay.
page, yeah, the
Gotcha.
footnote. I'm just guessing the VSBA never updated their references when they renumbered all of their policies, which was what, 3 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, because this was 2017 that it was last reviewed.
Well, most of our policies were enacted in 2017, which was the first or second meeting of the district
Right.
Oh, yeah.
after it was created. So we're good with C1 and C2. C5, age of admission of students. So one thing I'd like to do, I'm sorry, not C5, C35, which I have in the link document is C50, because this is one of our policies. It's not a VSBA policy. So I just want to renumber this as we did with F30, whatever it was,
50, right.
to bring it in line.
Yeah.
And the only thing of note in reading it that I noticed is the phrase that children who desire to. That doesn't seem to really fit our district, as the children aren't making the decisions.
Families, maybe it should be replaced with families, or
Parent or guardian
Yeah.
who desire their child. Does that work?
That
yeah.
works.
I mean, the other thing we could do is, do we want it to be consistent? Because it seems like it's a little inconsistent. Once you get down to kindergarten, it just basically says that they need to be 5 before their birthday. It doesn't say who desire or any of that.
Oh, in the
no,
draft.
it does,
Yeah.
actually, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I see it there.
Yeah, sorry,
That's okay.
No, in the other one, it didn't. The older,
right,
like the other version did not. So
exactly.
it didn't see.
The original version did not have it.
This one does, yeah, the one that you're proposing does.
District. Shall be further about that.
The families of children.
I'm just trying to think of what the pronoun's the wrong word, but what goes in front of parent. That, which parent? No.
What is the proper language in today's world? Like, do you put parent? Do you put guardian? Do you put?
Usually we put both.
Because then it's more inclusive of all the
Right.
different styles.
So that a parent or guardian who desire their child. I'm doing
Can
this
we
in,
use, can we use maybe, I don't know, desire? It seems sort of like a want. I almost feel like it needs to be more black and white. I don't know what the word is though. Do you know what I mean? It's like desire seems like a wish to me.
Yeah. So what would you say? It feels really important to me that, like, I'm trying to think of, like, if I were the parent trying to argue the case, like and language I might use to try to persuade you that this was of the
Right.
utmost importance that my kid with the September 2nd birthday be allowed.
How about,
That's always,
sorry, Katie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, I'm good.
A parent or guardian whose child
I
will
feel like
enter.
it should say who wish to enroll there,
Okay.
or who.
Kindergarten's a required grade, correct? Preschool is optional.
Right.
Um,
What does VSBA have this one?
they do not.
Okay.
So for
Oh,
kindergarten,
which is why.
yeah, right, exactly why we need to renumber it. For the kindergarten, um, parent or guardian whose child will enter kindergarten. Since it's not a choice.
Right.
Does that work for kindergarten?
Shall be further policy that a parent or guardian whose child will enter kindergarten must have reached their 5th birthday. So the policy states that the parent or guardian whose child will enter must. No, wait.
That's
shall be.
That's the wrong person.
Yeah. Yeah. That the child. Hang on. I'm trying to think of a streamlined way to say it.
Do we need parent and guardian in there?
I don't think you do in that statement, in that 5-year-old statement. The child must have reached their 5th birthday to enter kindergarten.
Yeah, it's consistent. Really, basically, it's consistent throughout all of the age groups, though, right? Basically, we're saying you can't send your child to school unless they reached their birth date by September 1st.
Yeah, I guess the difference between kindergarten and the pre-K is the requirement of it.
So, like, if you just take out that a parent or guardian whose, if you just leave it as district and then child will enter.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, we're missing a word.
Right.
It shall be further policy of the River Valley School District that a child will, or that a child who will enter. Yeah, that a child who will enter kindergarten must reach their 5th birthday. That would.
Yeah, who.
And you could probably copy that formatting for the 2 prior statements, couldn't you?
I really think that you can.
Yeah, I don't like the word desire. So
I don't either. Yeah. And I honestly think, regardless of whether or not kindergarten is, required, we still have the age requirement for the other programs.
correct. This sounds a whole lot better.
Do we, at the bottom, do we want to change, there shall not be any early admittance of students who were born after this date? Should that say these dates? I guess.
There should not be any early admit. So like that's a tried and true. We don't make exceptions at all to the
Right.
policy. So there shall not be any early admittance of students.
Period.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just take out the, yeah.
Perfect.
Much better.
So I think that's enough language that we have to call that a revision, don't we?
Yeah, this is a substantive, and operationally it's not a change, but it's enough of a substantive. There you go. You know what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Change that this will have to be readopted. So if you guys are good with the way it is now, I will mark that as for readoption.
Do we need to warn it for the 21st?
No, it would, well, we will have to vote to warn it on the 21st.
Okay.
And then we'll vote to adopt it at our January meeting. Okay, new policies. These are policies that I picked out that related to security. At least ones that we did not already have in our policy book. Tammy, Kate and I are really going to rely heavily on you as to whether or not these are good to have in policy versus procedure. And I believe that you probably already do most, if not all of this.
Yeah, let me just pull it up. I can't really speak to the superintendent part of it. That might be a question for Bill.
Okay. It struck me reading this and having sat on now 3 or 4 interview committees that this is exactly the way you guys already do things.
Yeah.
And unless you see an advantage to having this in a policy, I personally, and Kate, please, jump in. I don't see it as an advantage to the district to make this a policy.
The only thing is personnel changes. That's all I can say about policies. That we sometimes when we're reviewing these, we're thinking of the people that are in place currently, but there might not always be a Matt and Tammy. So
that is true. That is very true.
They might change how they do things. So I don't know if you want to,
And we can't always assume that every human is going to make the best possible choices. So if we put a policy in place, then it gives us something to provides the structure and guidelines.
Right.
I'm fine with that. I mean, that does make sense. I would definitely want Bill to review his portion of this, or his position's portion of this before we make a final recommendation. But if you're good, do you see anything, Tammy, in the definitions or in the policies for you guys that would conflict with what you already do?
It's really consistent with how we're operating currently. You're right on about that.
So Kate, are you good with us saying we will recommend this as a policy to the board due to the possibility of changing personnel once we
Do we
have
have to say that the possibility, or just saying, let's just say that we recommend the policy? Like, I don't want to make a statement and make it sound like
Alarming.
anybody is thinking or considering.
Right. We don't want to put anybody.
when you said that, Tammy, I was going to say, you're not making an announcement, are you?
No, I just, no.
No, I know. Yeah. I think it is good, maybe not a formal statement, but I think it is good to give the board a reason why we are recommending a new policy.
As best practice, just.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a much more succinct way of saying it. So with Bill's approval, we're good to move forward?
Yes, with Bill's, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So C21, the title is, I find the title kind of alarming, but
Access control.
nope, this is a search and seizure.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Search and seizure of students. But it is a
belongings. Would it be student belongings? That'd be a better.
Well,
property?
the seizure part. I mean, the second paragraph of the second section, it starts, the superintendent shall ensure that all searches and seizures of student and student property are conducted. So it's not just property.
Well, the search is the student, the seizure is the property.
That's a weird way that they wrote that, because it sounds like you can seize
the student, right? I almost read it as a poor way of saying detain a student.
I don't think that's what's trying to get relayed here, but I could be wrong. I read it differently.
Well, the VSBA has the same title. The school retains the right to.
Yeah, and this is their policy, and it was updated, 4 months ago.
Yeah, back in August.
It does have this reference at vehicles, which they didn't actually include. I don't like the wording of this in general. Do you guys have a procedure in place for searching student property?
Yeah, we open up backpacks and see if there's anything in it.
You don't go through the sixth graders' cars?
it's so different with elementary students than it is, you know, this is probably more for a high school or middle school.
No, I agree. I guess the question would be is if you had the need to search a student's property, and a parent wanted to complain about you guys having done that,
Right.
Should we have backup for you guys?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've had to do it before. If someone has said that so-and-so brought a knife to school or whatever, I mean, it has happened.
So I would think that having a policy is a good idea. I'm not so sure that this is worded the way
Right.
we want the policy to be. Why don't I work on rewording it for us and bring it to our next meeting?
That's a tricky one though, because it feels like the wording was probably intentional from the VSBA and realize it was written for an all-encompassing age group that we don't deal with the older ages. But wording is a really tricky thing because, yeah, with the legalese and all of that fun stuff, like, I don't know. So although it doesn't feel like all of it applies, I think it gives us a fairly good leg to stand on. And my legalese isn't, my legalese wouldn't be able to be all encompassing. I don't know. That's a tricky one.
It might be a good question for Bill. I think you could just change it to say the superintendent shall ensure that all searches of students and seizures of student property are conducted in a manner that complies with state and federal constitution protections. That's how I think it's intended to be written. But again, my interpretation could be off. So.
Well, I can ask Bill, ask the VSBA. I was also going to ask them whether there is a legal reference for this because they did not include anything.
Right.
It would seem to me that to have some legal backing, that it should have been pulled from something, be it either state statute or FERPA right. or something.
Right. And we don't have this in our handbook like it says in the last sentence either. So.
Yeah, it would have to be added if.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to have in there so that parents are aware.
Hi, Matt. We're going over the fun ones now. We're going over search and
Good morning,
seizure.
guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Matt.
Sorry. I didn't realize I had my headset connected and I heard it. I heard your voice coming from the table and I was like, what's going on? And one of those days, guys. Sorry I'm late.
Join the club. It's been one of those days for all of us.
I hear the voices, but I don't know where they're coming from.
The table's talking to me. Now we got problems.
It sounds so soft and telephone-like.
All right, so Matt, we were on C21.
C21, okay. I got to get my
seizure of students.
Search and seizure. It's one of our favorite tasks, right, Tammy?
That's what I was saying.
Jeez.
So I'll give you a minute to read through it, then I'll summarize where we are.
Yeah, you can go ahead without me. I'll catch up.
All right, so our thinking is that a policy would be a good idea to have as backing for you guys, should there be complaints about you guys doing your job. The wording of this seems a little odd, especially in the second paragraph of the second section, where it says superintendent shall ensure that all searches and seizures of students. So I'm going to ask Bill and the VSBA about moving the word seizure to in front of property, so we're not seizing students. And I'm going to ask the VSBA about a legal reference for this, which they did not include.
Okay.
Anything else, Kate, Tammy, that I missed?
No, that's good.
Matt, do you have any comments?
Just, I finally just got it opened, so I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
browsing it right now. So ensure, I mean, I think the law allows us to do this with reasonable suspicion anyway. Is that right, Tammy? Is that
Yeah.
your understanding? Yeah, that complies with state and federal constitutional. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. This looks good to me.
Because it really comes down to whether you as the principals, your job position and personally, think that having this as backup for a complaint, somebody, you know, you're doing your job, you've got the backup of you've got the legal backup for it, but having a policy that we can put in front of a parent or guardian saying, no, they did their job, they have the
Yeah.
backing of the district.
So, I mean, because some people could see it as an invasion of privacy, and then this just sort of takes that off the table.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, looks
We've been
good.
very lucky where it's, hasn't been a problem in the past for us anyway, but it would be good, I think, to just to have that as a policy for backup.
We seized a few students last week. The parents didn't come pick them up and they had to be seized.
This is recorded, Matt.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. No, that's a joke. I was kidding. Thank you for reminding me of that.
So the only other thing I'm going to ask the VSBA is about the reference number 1 vehicles. Not that we have to deal with vehicles at all, but they didn't include. They included the number, but without the reference. So I'll bring this back to you guys when we meet in January.
Sounds good.
F25 access control.
Now, F25 doesn't have a VSBA equivalent, right?
This is a VSBA policy.
F as in Frank?
F as in Frank.
25. I don't see it on the, oh, geez, reload. Sorry. Yep, I see it now. Access control.
And like we were saying with the previous two, I think that this is probably how you guys already do things.
Do we need this one?
I don't know. I mean, this is definitely administrative procedure. And I don't know, I'm trying to think beyond us a little bit. Like if there's another administrator, we want to make sure we establish that precedence of, making sure the access is controlled and, that we're following safety protocols, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I
In
mean,
some
this
ways-
is, go ahead.
I feel like you guys are like, you're doing this. I mean,
Yeah.
This year's a little trickier, but like in previous years, if I happened to be late on any given day, the building would be locked and my child and I would have to ring the bell and be on camera to get in the building. So like that gives you a policy to say that it's a recommended VSBA procedure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we haven't had any complaints about this, and our building is just locked all the time. So you don't get in, and if nobody's at the office, you don't get in until somebody comes back to the office to
Right.
vet you.
I guess the only question I'd have for you guys, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, is this policy generic enough that it's not hamstringing your actual procedures?
I don't think so, because you have the authorized users piece in there so that we can determine who is authorized. Yeah, I don't see anything that hamstrings us. Do you, Tammy?
No.
All right, so recommend this as a best practice as we did with whatever that number was 2 numbers ago.
Sounds good.
B20.
B20, yeah.
Yeah. So F25.
So Kate, we're in agreement.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. I knew we could get through all of these today. F26, security cameras.
Oh, this will be fun.
Do we currently have any, I mean, secure, yeah.
Both buildings have
Yeah.
security sound camera systems.
So I don't know if I've sent out any notifications, annual notifications, Tammy, have you?
No.
I have not done that. So this would be good.
Anything in your policy, in your handbook that you give at the beginning of the year?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it references that at
Yeah, it
all.
doesn't.
It needs to be added.
We didn't have the policy yet, right? So we're good for now.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Should be subject to the other policy, government confidential. Yeah. Yeah, this looks good. The only thing this doesn't mention is any access by law enforcement. And that was one of the things that came up when we first installed this. We were hopeful that we would be able to give law enforcement the ability to access it remotely in the event of an emergency. But because we didn't have this policy and there was nothing on the books at that point when we installed the system, we just kind of agreed that we would not address that issue until the policy, which was in the process of being written at the time, until this policy came out. And now that it's out, I don't see anything about law enforcement. Do you guys?
What about
Oh,
in
state,
F?
F, state and local law.
Would F
Yep.
F would cover that, I think.
Yeah. So I don't let law enforcement access the cameras because I perceive them as academic records as long as there are students visible in them. But if something happens on a weekend and they're trying to investigate like vandalism or something, then we definitely do let them come in. And I've given them video footage from the cameras before for their various cases that they've been working on with things that happen off hours.
So if something happened on ours,
Yeah.
in theory, local law enforcement would have to provide a warrant to be able to access those.
A warrant, or if the video shows specific children, we can request a release from the parents.
Mhm.
So any children who are identifiable in the video, they would have to have a release on file signed by the parents that would allow us to show that clip to law enforcement.
Does your system have the ability to blur parts of the video?
No, not, I mean, I think, yeah, I don't think so, Matt, right?
I don't think ours does, yeah. Do we have the same one, Tammy?
I think so.
Yeah. Ours is about 5 or 6 years old, and it's, it's definitely, I would definitely say it's a base model. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles.
Right. Same.
Is there offsite storage of footage? It's all on site.
Yeah, it's a 1U rack mount
Right.
appliance, and it has a couple of hard drives in it that it just overwrites.
Is there enough storage that you're maintaining those for at least 30 days?
Yes.
This policy would require that.
Yeah, I haven't bumped into any issues with that. Usually when you're looking for something, it's only within the last 24 hours or
Right.
less. But I did have a case this year where I had to go back a month, and I was able to go back a month, and it was on the day a month later. So it worked out just perfectly because it would have been deleted the next day.
So a thing to consider moving forward is if you add more cameras, may have to add more storage in order to, stay in compliance with the policy.
Yes, absolutely. And there are other ways the storage space is kind of dynamic. So it's a little bit of a function of the quality of the image, the frames per second, and all of that impact the ability for it to store more days worth of footage.
Okay, so I'm in favor of this policy. Sounds like Matt and Tammy, you're good with it as it's written. Kate?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think this is a really important one for us in case anything ever comes up with two students and he's that whole he said, she said piece. And I think that's why this actually became a policy. I think there was a case in Vermont where somebody got pushed down the stairs or something. I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure this is a result of that.
Jeez.
That's
Yeah.
pretty bad. All right, so we are going to recommend F26 to the whole board. And that brings us to the end of our list of policies.
Wow. What time did you guys start? You're killing it.
About 10 after 9,
Oh,
5 after 9, something like that. Yeah,
that's great.
that's why I looked at it as right before I sent it out to everyone. I was like, okay, there's a lot of policies here, but we've been moving through them. So
Okay. Can we have Matt just quickly look over the age of admission policy that we sort of
absolutely.
finessed? If you have some time, Matt, maybe like 5
Sure.
minutes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Change
go
the
ahead.
wording on one of them, and I think it would be great to have your input on.
Yeah. Is it a Google Doc or is it a?
It is. It's
Yeah.
C35 on the agenda. It's also numbered C50. We're going to be renumbering it.
Okay, let me get back to there.
And it would probably be helpful, Matt, if you can pull up the original C35, which is in the policy folder, the meeting doc folder,
Okay.
because we
That's
did.
the one that C35.
C35 is the original number. Yes.
And do we rename it C50?
Yes.
Okay. And so on the one I'm looking at says date adopted 9/18/2019.
Is that with the new heading, the new header?
It says age of admission students pre-K and kindergarten.
Does it say draft at the top?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's the one that we worked through this morning. Some
Okay.
change.
Okay. What did you change? Do you want me to just read it blindly?
If you want to, the first line, it shall be the policy of River Valley's Unified School District. We added the word unified. Oh no, I think that was already there for this one. It says that children who desire to enter. We changed that to what it is now.
A child who will enter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Took out the word desire, which none of us were comfortable with, and the fact that children weren't making the decision in the first place.
Right. Yeah, that sounds more clear to me.
And then the very last line, it originally said, there shall not be any, excuse me, there shall not be any early admittance of students who were born after this date. We just took out who were born after this date.
Yep. So it just says there shall not be any early admittance of students.
Yep.
Yep. I think this is pretty clear. I don't know that you could get more clear than this.
Okay, good.
5th birthday before
Great.
September 1st. Yep. And this is something that comes up almost every year for us. You too,
Yeah.
Tam?
Yeah.
Yeah, that August 30th birthday,
Yes.
or like me, I was August 26th, and the district where I started, the cutoff was August 29th.
Yeah, there's always going to be a kid born on Yeah,
Exactly.
11:59 of, yeah.
And the parent's not exactly thinking, I've got to get the kid into school early to at that point
moment.
change the birthday to the next minute.
Yeah,
All right, so you're good. You're good with the wording and the substance of that.
it's good to me.
Not changing the ages at all.
Okay.
You want to take a quick look at B20, Matt? B as in boy,
Sure.
20.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the one from the link from the agenda.
Yep. I'll just tell you, we are in agreement that this should probably move forward. And before making a final approval, just going to clear it with Matt, the aspects of it that are related to superintendent.
Bill.
Probably
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm looking at Matt.
Excuse me, I have to give access control to somebody.
Going to exercise her access control.
It's been one
Yeah,
of
this
those
is-
weeks. Had a late drop off a couple times this week. So,
You did, yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah, this is all, my understanding is this is all standard procedure.
Yeah, the question we sort of had was whether it should be in a policy, whether it would be hamstringing you guys at all. And Kate and Tammy brought up the idea that there may not always be a Matt and a Tammy there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's always an important thing, is to look, is this going to serve us beyond, is it clear, and will it serve us beyond anybody who's presently in the, in the job?
Exactly.
Now, I have a quick question about the last, I think it's the last paragraph on the first page.
Okay.
The district will also provide opportunities for parents, guardians, and other interested persons to receive the same information.
Right.
So is that just the orientation and instruction on child abuse?
What policy are you looking at?
I think I'm looking at B20 draft from the link of the agenda, page 1, last full paragraph before definitions.
Oh, okay. Let's see. This shall ensure that adults employed in the school maintained in the district receive orientation information.
It's just basically saying that when we're employing people, we're just going to let them know that we are mandatory reporters, I think.
And that information should be available to the public, not the reporting results, but the
Right.
fact that we are bound to those requirements. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
And it references state statute.
Oh, I didn't know that number 5 on page 4. I thought that was a district. I thought that was a district procedure. I didn't realize that was Vermont Public Schools for probationary 2 year, first years, 2 years being a probationary period. Interesting. Learn something new every day.
There you go.
Yeah. Did you make any changes to this?
Nope.
No, we
Okay.
just want Bill to look over, because there's just a lot of stuff in here that says the superintendent, the superintendent, the superintendent.
Yep. That sounds good to me.
Okay. So if I can find my agenda. Quick review, existing policies, C1 and C2, we're going to recommend that they be marked as reviewed on the date, whatever the meeting date is. The only changes we made were adding the word unified to the district name. C35, we're going to recommend renumbering to C50. The new wording which will probably just require readoption with a warning, but I'll have to check on that. B20, we're going to recommend that it be adopted with Bill's approval. C21 is, I believe, the one that I'm gonna get a whole bunch of more information on. Yeah, so C21 I'm gonna bring back with some reference information and whether we can move the word seizure to in front of property. And F25 and F26 we're gonna recommend be adopted.
Sounds good.
We got through a lot today.
Good bit of work.
Next meeting will be January 8th at 9 a.m. If you guys are good with that. And I hope to have a draft of F21 board policy use for you then. I've been working on it. I've had people getting information from all across the country, and there actually isn't a whole lot out there. There's a decent amount of procedure, but very little policy. So I started struggling with with wording it, and I took a couple weeks off, so I need to get back to that. So I plan on having that for you guys in January.
Excellent.
Anything else?
Yes, a very happy birthday to Matthew today.
Oh yeah, tomorrow, but thank you.
Tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I heard I'm turning 40 again.
Oh, you're young.
Yeah.
You have to start going backwards in age on your birthdays. I mean,
Yeah, I said to the principal, sent me a nice card and an email today, and I wrote back to them saying, I don't feel a day over 80.
and what 40 of those years came this year?
Yeah, I don't know how many of those years came this year, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of gray hair did.
Hopefully we're getting towards the tail end of it.
That's right.
Yes, let's get some vaccines out and start fighting this thing.
And first responders are going to start getting vaccinated on the 15th.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Hopefully
really?
schools will be shortly behind that.
Sounds like maybe February for Massachusetts teachers and schools. So I don't know what Vermont will be, but that's good news.
The New York Times has I think it was actually an op-ed link where you can put your birth date in and age and answer a couple of questions, and it will tell you where they think you will be in both the national and Vermont as far as where you're going to get your vaccine.
They've had some really good articles on the pandemic, and then about like even though we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, like the after effects that we all are going to face as a result of this, and that's something that's really important for folks to talk about too, is the coming out and how we're going to support everybody's mental and emotional health. Like, can you imagine how squirrely we're all going to be when we can have an in-person meeting again? Like, it's going to be a big adjustment, and there's a lot of adjustment when you can walk into somebody's house and not that's going to be such a weird thing.
And we've seen it a little. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, no, Matt, go.
I was just going to say, we've seen it a little bit with kids coming back to school from remote when they've made the decision to come back in, and they don't really even know what direction to go. And it's, everything has to be gone through all the routines and everything until they become comfortable again.
Yeah. It's a lot of trauma.
And it's going to be a new normal, not back to normal. But we had at the VSBA meeting, they introduced a new CEO of the National School Boards Association. She's been in the job for 6 months, hasn't met most of her staff, and she's working without having any personal interaction with these people that she had never met before. Can't imagine doing that.
Weird.
So, all right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at 10:05.
All right,
Very
great.
good.